Hi, it's your girl Lola Lovely, and welcome to the Love Frequency. I just wanted to kind of come in and do a first episode, and just kind of briefly discuss what the Love Frequency is all about. I have some notes that I'd like to read from. So, and then we get a little bit of a gist of what it is that we are here to create when it comes to the Love Frequency. The Love Frequency is a soulful podcast dedicated to unlocking the power of love. It's unlocking also positive energy and vibrant communications and connections. Each episode dives deep into the depths of self love, personal growth, and the frequencies that actually shape our world, offering listeners a mix of spiritual insight, uplifting conversation, and actionable tools for living a more aligned and harmonious life. From heart centered wisdom to powerful guest interviews, this podcast is all about tuning into your highest vibration and creating the life that you truly, truly, deeply deserve. Whether you're seeking clarity or inspiration or a little boost of positivity, the Love Frequency is here to help you align with your true essence and amplify the love in every single area of your life. So let's tune in to the Love Frequency. Welcome again. My name is Lola Lovely, and a welcome to the Love Frequency. LUV, love, the Love Frequency. I'm excited. The first episode, I decided to just dive in and create an episode. And this is just about, it's all in a name. I want to just kind of touch on this because in creating this process and creating this podcast, it started with, I'm doing a podcast with a friend, and we were trying to come up with a name for that podcast, for the two of us that will culminate us. She has interesting names. I have had many names in my life. I have nicknames and names that I've taken on. And I do believe that a name can grant you the power to move in a certain way. Names have energy and power. And I have to say that my birth name, Lee, has its own strength and own energy and own power. Lee equals strength to hold up something. It is the shore leads up the trees so that the water doesn't, overcome them. So there's such a frequency when it comes to a name. And the name has to actually resonate with you. It has to resonate with your inner soul. And the Love Frequency, it resonated so deeply. Shout out to a friend of mine, T Street. She has her own podcast, and she has always been a creator for me to help me kind of move through some creative blocks that are going on, especially when it comes to creating something that I have passion about. I have decided that it is time for me to talk, even though I feel uncomfortable. I started doing it on TikTok with my Surviving Separation series. And for me, there feels like there's no movement as much as it could be on TikTok, and that's okay. So I'm just going to start making these little, videos here on the Love Frequency, and then I'll share them as well out to the other socials and see what happens. But I feel like that the Love Frequency just resonates. It's what I wanted to convey in my own personal podcast, my own personal show, is that I really believe that there is a frequency of love that we are all on, and that we are all striving to be, and striving to have, and striving to connect to, and that by learning basic tools of self-love, that we can then express that and go forward and love thy neighbor. So the Love Frequency, really, it just feels so good. As I say, it feels so good. I had a podcast called Morning Magic, and I love that. That was my IG podcast that I would go live in the morning, and I would do readings, and I would just talk about the energies that we're dealing with. And I still love that. I still am connected to that. I do know now, I think I'm more in a place where I realize that I know that I don't need the cards to receive the message from the Love Frequency. But sometimes the cards are helpful because the cards help other people to receive the message. So that's a whole nother podcast. And I'm just happy to have started this today. And, and moving forward in the place of just gratitude and love for creativity, for the sun still being up at 5 o'clock, 5:40 at night, and moving into this warmer season, and just moving into a season of plenty, more than enough, and just being okay with being as hot mess as you are. If you can see that you're a hot mess, and being okay that you're willing to move through that. So understanding that it's all in a name, and also understanding that if you label something, you could negate its power, you could overcome its power, you could block its power. And I want to just go back to the idea that I had a podcast or a live show that I did on IG called Morning Magic. And the whole form of mourning does not resonate with where I'm at in my life right now. I'm no longer mourning the loss of anything. I'm actually celebrating the growth and the frequency of this new me, of this new place, of this new experience. So I just feel like there's just something wonderful and beautiful to be said about finding the name. And I said I was going to talk about this in a way of, we no longer need to be bonded by the names that we were given. We can choose new names because we can always choose to remake ourselves. Okay, we can choose to remake who we are and what it is that we're creating. We can choose to step out of our comfort zones and step into a new space. For instance, I took on the name Lola in my yoga teacher training, right during or right before yoga teacher training, right in that time. I had a near-death experience, and having that near-death experience made me want to rename the person that I had been, so that I can transcend, so that Leanne could take a moment to rest, and a new part of me could come forward to be the person that was in control and protecting and keeping Leanne secure. And Lola came out, and that was paying homage to my grandmother. Her name is Dolores, and her nickname was Lola. And as a kid, I was so sad every time I would hear her brothers and sisters get together with her, because they would call her Lola this and Lola that. And I would be like, Mom, why didn't you give me that name? Lola is such a cool name. And recently, I want to say in the last 3 months, my mom said to me, you could just legally change your name to Lola, and you could be Lola Lee. She said you could be Lola Leanne, Lola Lovely, which was a nickname. Lovely is a nickname from my youth. I have it tattooed on my ankle, but it's Lovelee, Lovely. So she's like, you could take that on, and it could be 100% legally your name. And I said, well, I'm thinking about it. I'm still playing with the idea to take on Lola as my name, and it would be Lola Lovely Irizarry. Lola Lovely Irizarry. Because I would want to keep the Lee, or Lola Lee Irizarry. So, I mean, I would want to keep the Lee because Lee is shoring up my shores. It's keeping me, protected. It's keeping me safe. It's strength in the place where I need it. I'm going to actually quickly look up the definition of Lee. And because when I saw that there was a name, there was an actual definition, I was like, wow, that's so. The sheltered side of something, the side away from the wind. Ducks were taking shelter on the lee of the island. Shelter from wind or weather by a neighboring object, especially nearby land. We pitch our tents in the lee of the rock. So it's basically the shelter side of something. So, I mean, Lola might need the shelter side of Lee. Lola might be sheltering Lee. And Lola definitely loves Lee. So Lola Lovely might be the new moniker that I take on. And I take it on because, my soul needs that culmination and that integration of all parts of self coming back home. And that has been part of the survival of what I've been going through, of a separation and a rebranding, a rebirthing, a rebuilding of self. And there's something to be said about the name, because it's all in the name. So I'd like to welcome you to the love frequency. And I am looking really forward to doing these small, attainable segments that will help you to bite down on a piece of wisdom and then be able to utilize it in your everyday life. So it's for me, the piece of wisdom that I'm sharing today is it's all in a name, and a name can negate you, or it can make you stronger. You can choose to give power to a name or choose to take power from it. If you label something, if you labeled yourself strong and independent, that gives you power. If you label yourself weak and afraid, that takes away power. So there's this sense of understanding that love truly is the frequency that we need to be in so that we can create the power that we want to live in, and the power place we want to live in. And that power play, the power place, the place of power that we want to stand our feet firmly in and be grounded down into. And that seems like it's part of, for me, it's part of the love frequency, to be grounded down in that power of self-awareness, and then self-actualization. That's pretty interesting. So I really appreciate the process of being here and sharing this brand new frequency, the love frequency episode, and just touching a little bit on it's all in a name, and how the power of that can unlock such greatness in you. I challenge you all today to look deeply into yourself and see what names you've been calling yourself. I'm going to leave it at that, what names, because some of them have not been wonderful. I'm going to say to you again that those unwonderful names that you've been using, I want to challenge you today that if you think yourself a fraud, that you remind yourself that you are a mage, you're a sage, you're a guru, you're learning. You're a babe in some aspects that is just willing to grow, but you're taking the steps forward to grow and to move and to change, to have your being in the very breath of the thing that creates you. So listen to the voices in your head, observe the names that you have been calling yourself, write them down and find the opposite. And every time that name comes up, like you're dumb, you can say, I'm smart when it comes to fill in the blank. Something true about yourself. And if it says, you are an imposter, how dare you think you could do blah, blah, blah. Say, I'm learning, so I'm gonna get this right because this is a learning in progress. I'm a work in progress. And just give yourself the grace to give the opposite to the voice and to rename and reframe yourself. So renaming is all about reframing. And I just love that. So thank you so much for joining me for the Love Frequency episode 1. It's all in a name. And I'll see you soon.